Meanwhile, the Speaker of Iran's parliament says that Iran is prepared to reveal, quote, new cards on the battlefield. Brent Sadler joins me now. He's a former Navy captain and Pentagon official. Now, Trump says that Iran's military is all but destroyed. So what cards could they have left to play?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I think he's most likely referring to proxies or sleeper cells spread throughout the world, but also because of very poor border security policies of the last administration. We also have to worry about sleeper cells that are here in the United States waiting for the order to act. So I think that's probably what they're talking about. It's one that the Iranians have used in the past and to great effect. But again, it's a terror element. It's not going to change the reality on the ground or the ocean, the air around Iran today. And it's a pressure that needs to stay very much in force to get to an Iran that we can live with.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see how operating terror networks, activating terror networks around the world, I don't see how that would change the situation in the Gulf with American military power in the Gulf and Iran under enormous pressure. That doesn't solve anything, does it?
No, it just further alienates the regime from, if they had any supporters still, it just further alienates them. And it certainly would rile the American public up for even more aggressive action against the regime. So this regime has made clear irrational or self-defeating actions is something that they're used to doing. So I wouldn't rule it out.
President Trump says the military is, quote, ready to go in Iran. Do you think it's inevitable at this point? I mean, the Iranians have been stalling forever. At some point, the president has to act, doesn't he?
Well, I think if the ceasefire does not continue past tomorrow night, expect a resumption of the nationwide airstrikes that you saw before. And I think the focus, because there's not much else left there to target, but to go after the IRGC and their ability to continue to exercise their diktat on the streets of Iran. And that hopefully will continue to open up an opportunity for the Iranian people to take back their country. But expect the strikes to continue. Surprising that there weren't some in response to Iran's violations of the ceasefire when they attacked shipping on the weekend. So I think the expectation is the regime does still want a deal.
President, earlier today, on this show today, we spoke to Katie McFarlane. She says the Iranians are playing for time. Do you think that Trump is being played?
No, I think both sides' time has an advantage. For the Iranians, of course, digging out their equipment and missile launchers to try to get some capacity back to attack U.S. aircraft and ships. But for our side, refueling, rearming, and repositioning our naval forces as well as ground forces in the Gulf region and the Arabian Sea also plays to our benefit. And so now there's 3 aircraft carrier strike groups that are within striking range. So the next round of strikes will be sustained at a tempo and an intensity perhaps even higher than what we saw in the previous weeks.
Katie McFarlane suggested that when the bombing resumes, or when the air fight continues, the Israelis will get involved and they will be decapitating the Revolutionary Guards. What do you say to that?
I think that's a natural next step of this. You saw that transition occurring before this ceasefire. I think it's one of the reasons why Iran and specifically the IRGC wanted to get a ceasefire, to try to let up from the tempo and the refocus on them specifically. So clearly they are the roadblock to a better Iran, or at least a more peaceful one. You're seeing that right now as the palace intrigues with the IRGC commanding general trying to block anyone getting to the supreme leader and to try to shape their policies and certainly make any ceasefire negotiation go forward.
Fascinating. Brent Sadler, thank you very much for joining us, Brent. We appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.